we're doing really good. Do we have Miss Valencia Michelle Adair Wheeler before us? Okay, good morning. All right, let's come to order, and we will resume. Let's go back on the record. So we will now proceed with the matter of Valencia Michelle Adele, I'm sorry, let me start that over. Valencia Michelle Adair Wheeler. The OAH number is 2019-020215. This is a petition for a reinstatement of license before the board. Let me get appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Lisa Miller, Deputy Attorney General, on behalf of the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Can you state and spell your name, please?
My name is Valencia Michelle Adair Wheeler, V-A-L-E-N-C-I-A, Adair, Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E, Adair, A-D-A-I-R, hyphen W-H-E-E-L-E-R.
All right. And you are not represented by counsel this morning.
No, I'm not.
Did you hear the explanation that I gave at the outset of the hearing this morning about the procedures and how this all works?
Yes.
And you've had the benefit of watching a couple of cases before us. Do you have any questions about the procedures?
No, I don't.
Did you take the oath this morning?
Yes, I did.
All right, let me get the opening statements. Ms. Miller,
Yes,
would you
Your
like to give us a summary of the case?
Thank you, Your Honor. But first, I would like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the petition packets and accompanying documents. The board and the petitioner have been provided a copy of the same documents.
I'll mark the package as Exhibit number 1. Ma'am, do you have any objections to Exhibit number 1 coming into evidence?
No, I do not.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will now offer a summary of the case. Petitioner Valencia Adair Wheeler was issued her psychiatric technician license number PT 30111 on March 9th of 1998. The board filed an accusation on October 23rd of 2013. A proposed decision was adopted by the board on January 10th of 2014. The basis for the accusation was the following: a conviction on June 19th of 2006 for driving under the influence, a conviction on October 8th, 2010 for check forgery, a felony that was reduced to a misdemeanor. The circumstances underlying the conviction are that petitioner entered a check cashing establishment with the intent to cash a forged check. Also a conviction on June 7th of 2012 for burglary, which was also a felony reduced to a misdemeanor. The circumstances underlying the conviction were that the petitioner and a companion entered a Rite Aid with carrying large canvas bags, which they then concealed several bottles of alcohol and exited the store without paying. Also, as the basis for the accusation was a conviction on March 28th of 2012, also for DUI. The circumstances of the conviction are that San Diego police responded to a report of a collision. Upon arrival, the officer found petitioner standing next to her vehicle, which had rear-ended a parked car. The officer observed that petitioner displayed objective signs of intoxication, and upon a search of the vehicle, discovered an empty vodka bottle and also a glass pipe with residue indicative of being used to smoke controlled substances. The accusation further alleged that respondent was arrested on February 12, 2013 for possession of drug paraphernalia and cocaine. This arrest was later resolved with diversion. Additionally, the accusation finally alleged that petitioner took samples of the prescription medication Cialis from her employer and was subsequently terminated around March of 2010. In an interview with a board investigator, petitioner admitted to taking the prescription medication. She surrendered her license as of February 9th, 2014, and as part of the stipulated surrender, petitioner admitted the truth of the allegations and was ordered to reimburse the board for $6,755 for the costs of investigation and prosecution. And she has filed a petition for reinstatement, which was dated May 25th of 2018. In her application, she attributes her crimes to a relapse with drugs. She also states that she has a sobriety date of April 28th, 2014, and attends AA and NA meetings. She hopes to return to the psych field, and as part of her petition packet has included 4 letters of recommendation which attest to her recovery efforts, her participation in her church, management of a sober living program, and other volunteer efforts. I am now prepared to proceed with questions unless the petitioner has an opening statement.
Well, let's see. Would you like to say anything in the outset here?
Yes, I just have one thing to add, that the medication that was taken, Cialis, were sample medications given to the facility.
Okay. You can proceed with your questions.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed at for Health Right 360. I work at Serenity House IOP in Oceanside.
Okay. And as part of your petition packet, you indicated that you will finish your degree in human development. When do you anticipate completing your degree?
I'm surprised that paper is not in the packet. I commence May 17th at 2:30 p.m. I come back for my capstone and I'm completed.
Your letters of recommendation don't specifically address your convictions. Are your recommenders aware of your criminal history?
Actually, one in particular, yes. I have an extensive church family that people like me who have gotten a second chance in life and have went on to do great things. Also, Kim Murphy attests to the fact that she's known me over those years, and she knows that I'm working. She is actually my sponsor, that I'm working in recovery efforts now.
Okay, thank you. So you just mentioned your sponsor, and your petition packet mentioned that you are attending AA and NA. Are you still attending, and if so, how frequently?
Absolutely. I attend 2 meetings a week. I have a commitment on Sunday and usually Friday PM meetings. If I don't have to work late, I'll go to a women's meeting. Both of them are NA. One is in Escondido and one is in Vista.
So the convictions that were the basis for the accusation, those span over 7 years. That's a fairly significant period of time. What has changed in your life as opposed to those 7 years in which you were being convicted of various crimes?
I had 10 life stressors in 1 year.
I didn't hear you.
I had 10 life stressors in 1 year, spanning from 2006 to 2007. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. However, they were stressors nonetheless. I had not gone to a meeting in a while, and I was living dry. And I just gotta say that recovery is an ongoing process. I'm very well aware of that now. As I continue to work on myself with my sponsor, I have a significant sisterhood in sobriety and recently I went to a world convention, so I continue to work in this process of recovery just to keep myself accountable, and that I have people that know me and also keep me accountable. And my church family, as I said before, Christian Fellowship of El Cajon actually owns ECTLC. And so those are the individuals that I am being mentored under. I am the head of the evangelism team there at Christian Fellowship, and I have and continue to do volunteer work at ECTLC. Continue to be mentored by Pastor Harold and several other pastors and their wives.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, let's turn to the board, see if they have questions. Cheryl Turner, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank
Go
you, Your
ahead.
Honor. Over the past, you have abused alcohol, cocaine, and any other substance?
I'm going to review that because every substance, I have never used, IV or anything like that, other substances. I have taken, I did take medication when I had one of my accidents.
And it does appear that almost all of these convictions were over 7 years. But there was one in 2013.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I add marijuana?
Oh, marijuana, okay.
Thank you.
All right. So you have one conviction in 2013, and that was for, which,
I believe in 2013, that was for cocaine possession and marijuana, and paraphernalia.
possession? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that was a misdemeanor, or?
Actually,
felony?
I did the footwork. I went through the restorative programs that they had me attend. I've been through MAD, the DUI program of 18 months, and PC 1000 also, I believe. I'm not sure if that's a MAC program, I'm sorry.
So did
And I
you
have, I'm sorry, and so I have all of that in the packet.
So is that a diversion, or?
Actually, what they said was that if I didn't do anything for 18 months, that it would fall off my record, and you all have my fingerprints, and so I would assume that is what has happened.
And your sobriety date is April 14, 2014?
No, May.
May 14?
May 28th. I'm sorry, 2014.
Okay, maybe it's my mistake. Okay, and do you feel that all of your AA meetings and other resources have helped you combat your use of drugs and alcohol?
Absolutely. I took medication for a brief time, and I attended therapy, and I continued to put one foot in front of the other. My sanity actually was in question for myself at one point.
What do you say, your sanity?
Well,
Is that a figure of speech?
no, I think drug-induced psychosis is a real thing. And I stand here before you as somebody who knows and probably have more compassion for the field now than I did once before, because I understand that things can happen in a blink of an eye that sometimes we don't get to recover from. However, have been able to recover.
And you mentioned with regard to the Cialis that it was a sample medication.
Yes.
Do you find that there's a distinction between taking a sample versus taking other medication?
I find that there is not, there is not a difference. A medication should never be taken from any institution that we work for, hospital or clinic. My point simply was that there was discovered that my husband did have at that time a prescription for it, and he was not a patient. I'm not trying to justify it in any way. I'm just trying to create a clear picture of what happened.
No further questions?
Alita Carpenter, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You referred to this as a relapse, which would indicate that you had a period of sobriety prior to this. Is this the period that you referred to as living dry?
Yes,
Which would mean that you had not attended AA or NA or worked the steps.
yes.
How long was this period of sobriety?
I was probably about 6 years. I have no one in
Take your
my
time.
family suffers from this disease like I do. And so I really was trying to fit in. I am different. I accept those differences now. And that is why I won't leave the programs of NA and AA, and I believe wholeheartedly in the 12 steps.
Good, thank you. It'll be necessary for you to retake your licensing exam. What are you doing to prepare for that?
I continue to work in the helping professions. I have a large book for psychiatric nursing and pharmacology that I will be studying and have already begun to study should the board grant me that ability to take the test again. But working in the helping fields, I often have to do computer classes, as I gave you all a packet of a series of classes that I've taken online, and CPR certified, first aid. I continue to go to school. I have biology classes now, and over the years I've had biology. In my human development, I'm a health services major, so health services emphasis, I'm sorry. So I continue to have to deal with medical issues and keep abreast of things having to do with biology and psychology.
So your current course of education is also helping to prepare you for this.
Yes.
And congratulations on your bachelor's.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ken Maxey, any question?
That's all the questions.
sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Maxey, any questions?
Yes, a couple. Your grades indicate that you've done pretty well in your grades. Congratulations on
Thank
that, and
you.
that you're graduating.
Thank you.
Couple grades that I'm just curious of why you didn't actually take it again or retake them. The generic credit for chemistry, you got an F on.
Yes,
so-
I did. Actually, that was at a community college, and I left the class and I dropped lab, but I did not drop the whole course. So that was when I thought I might be going for RN, for the RN program. However, chemistry is very challenging, and I think I would need a tutor to take that. But I did mean to drop the whole course, but I only dropped the lab, unfortunately, so it stays on my record. Some of the other things that you see on there, I have definitely taken over. Human sexuality is not one of them. I apologize.
So you do have plans to take that course over?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had any psychological evaluation? And if you have, when was the last time that was done?
I think that was, wow, things got pretty bad in 2009. Pretty bad. And yes, I did. And I went to, I think it's Father Joe's. I received medication at that time. And I did take medication for a while until I could get my bearings again. It was a difficult time.
And have you gone back since that? It is 2019, so that's 10 years. And I know
Yes.
you're among the board, and you're
Yes.
coming to us, and you've actually stated today that you've had some challenges. So just question to that.
I no longer attend a psychiatric doctor. I don't see a psychiatric doctor. I don't take any psych meds. I have a therapist. Unfortunately, her letter got to me too late to make 15 copies. So I do have a therapist that I still see on a regular basis to talk about things that are concerning for me and some of the things that, new things that arise in life, such as, my childhood traumas, things like that, I continue to work through.
In regards to your drug usage, would you consider yourself a former addict? Or would you say that you are no longer attracted to drugs, and so being in a space like a hospital or a center where you're in front of drugs, that you would be not attracted to those things?
I would say that I am I'm a recovering addict, so yes, I do consider myself an addict, but I am in remission, so to speak, just like a cancer patient would be. The only thing is, I was never attracted to any medications on the floor concerning any of my patients. I've never had that type of discipline in in my whole career. But let me just speak more in depth to that in recovery, trying to live an honest life, that would be way in contrast to living an honest life, which is part of the reform of working the 12 steps. So I think that I would be a good nurse as I was before. And no, I don't foresee any issues dealing with medications.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Tammy Andozo, any questions?
Yeah, I see that, is there any cost recovery on your things, on your petition?
Yes, and with that, as you can see, I'm now a drug and alcohol counselor, and I just would like the board to consider California Business Profession Codes Division 25, Chapter 2 for psychiatric technicians, Article number 4, Code 4524, and Article 5, Code 4543, in regards to those restitutions. Please take those into account in your decision, please.
And it also shows that you are going to need to take the exam. Are you prepared to take the exam, or?
Yes. I have the necessary books that I would need to study, and I've already started to study, as I said before, so I'd be very excited to take the exam again.
Okay, thank you. No questions? No further questions?
Before we continue on, you've presented a series of documents to the board, which I'm going to mark collectively as Exhibit A. These are documents you want the board to consider?
Yes.
Are there any objections to Exhibit A?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit A will be admitted. Bernice Bass DeMartinez, do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
John Deerking, do you have any questions?
Yes, just a few, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Adair Wheeler. You indicated that there was a period where you were living dry, and I don't want to testify for you, but you understand that there's a difference between being dry and sober?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. I just wanted to clarify that. Going back to 2009, you had a conviction for a forged check.
Yes.
Where'd the check come from?
The check came from an individual that said, would you be interested in making some fast money? I did not earn the check. It was not forged by me, but I did try to cash it. Unfortunately, I am a bad criminal. Fortunately, I am a bad criminal. And when the lady took my license, I ran out of there.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
it was never cashed, but that's what happened.
And so what's your sobriety date,
It is May 28th, 2014.
as you previously indicated? Could you tell us about a support network that you might have right now?
Sure. I have a large sober sister. We call it family tree. We meet every third Sunday of the month from 2 to 4 at my sponsor's house. Every single one of those women that are my sponsee sisters, there are about 20 of us. I don't know how she does it. But we support one another, and we're able to call one another all the time. And so any difficulties that we may have, and with various lengths of sobriety, my sponsor is approaching 30 years. So, and down to the youngest one, which might have 18 months. So that is our sisterhood, and also the individuals that I share my commitments with, secretaries of the meetings that I go to on a weekly basis, coffee makers that go to the other meeting, and GSRs, things like that.
And you have a home group yourself?
I do. Sunday night is my commitment is the coffee maker in Vista, and also in Escondido, the women's meeting Friday evening if I don't work too late.
And you indicated that you are seeing a therapist currently?
Yes.
How long have you been seeing this particular therapist?
I've been seeing her for approximately a year.
About 1 year?
Yes.
And how often do you go?
I go once to twice a month, depending on availability of my schedule and her schedule, because I have school and work.
Thank you very much. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Paul Sellers, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious. One of the documents you submitted is what is the Humanities Daughters?
That's an organization. That's an organization that was started by myself and women like me who've had childhood trauma, who went through the foster care system, and were orphaned or abandoned by their parents. And so, what we did was we started an organization. It's a nonprofit, and we have our stamp, as you can see, to come alongside other foster youth girls to aid them to make healthier decisions, to increase the positive outcomes of statistical efforts. You know, that right now there's unwanted pregnancies and homelessness and all kinds of things that are allocated for foster youth. And we're trying to come alongside and mentor the girls because we've been there. And as you can see, it's not always over when we think it's over. And so we just want to come alongside them and mentor them through some of those things from groups and take them to some events and give them a sense of belonging so that they can make healthier adulthood choices.
Okay, thank you. You look like you're doing very well from all that I have in front of me. One place I noticed on a review, you were given a below expectation in your interpersonal skills. Why is that?
Which organization was that for?
That was.
Is it Healthy Living?
The manager is Katie Kern.
Yes. Yes. So I'm quite goal-oriented, and so I didn't do a lot of maybe going to some things that other people were attending, and it's mainly because there was alcohol involved. And so if it wasn't necessary for team building efforts, alcohol is not necessary for team building efforts. And so I skipped some of those get-togethers. Also, when I am at work, and especially we had a census of 400 with 200 RAPs at risk at that time, and they brought me on as the non-clinical case manager. RAPs at risk means money you're going to lose, so 200 accounts were below standard. And so when I came in, I was very driven, very goal-oriented, and so I just began to take each problem and kind of rectify the situation and try to get it to go into a seamless pattern. And so maybe some of the how was your weekends weren't addressed, things like that.
Okay. So from what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, it sounds like you were in recovery, and then you had a terribly stressful period. You said there were 10 stressors in 1 year.
I'm sorry, I was not in recovery. I was living dry, so that means that I was not immersed in the NAAA or meetings at that time.
You had stated you had participated before that, and you had stopped going to meetings.
Yes.
And then you
Oh,
had,
yeah.
so you were petitioning for your psychiatric technician license back, which I don't have to tell you, there are going to be very stressful periods that you're going to experience going forward. Just give me a quick idea what's going to happen when you run into 3 or 4 stressors in a day or two.
Okay. Which will be a little bit different from life stressors, of course, but I have some things in place that I use now. So one is prayer, one is meditation, and I take walks for reflection and mindfulness meditations. Those are the things that I do on a daily basis, and also check my motives. I'm constantly checking my motives for doing things and the reactions that are for the things in front of me, just to make sure that I'm living a congruent life.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Donna Norton, any questions?
I have no questions. My questions have all been answered, and for all intents and purposes, congratulations on your recovery. You certainly seem to be the poster person for recovery, and I just wish you well.
Thank you.
I have one
Appreciate
follow-up
that.
All right,
question, Your Honor.
from John Deerkin, go ahead.
Ms. Adair Wheeler, you gave us some code sections you want us to consider. Is that relative to cost recovery?
Yes.
And that's why you submitted a document at what's marked as Exhibit 828 to consider that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
I just thank you all for your time, and I'm truly sorry for this series of events and the cost and the manpower that ensued from my actions. I take full responsibility, and I just would ask that you all keep these things in mind when making your decisions, and I thank you.
Ms. Miller, I didn't give you a chance. Do you have any further questions?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Any closing remarks?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, with that, we will conclude the hearing, and thank you very much. Let's go off the record. All right, you're free to go. Thank you. All right, next up will be Teresa Davis. All right, thank you.
It just depends on
We need more room. Don't have enough room here.
for us too. And then we'll have to like print it out, and so that way we can remember what we said.
Like
no,
scan it and send it to all of us.
yeah, so there's no like.
And then we'll sign it back this way.
A donuts?
Supposedly after this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really want to drive to Glendale as a result of this bet if I lose.
So are you going 3 in a row?
All right, let's come to order.
Power through. We get a break.
Okay, can we please come to order? Quiet, quiet. We need everybody to be quiet. Please stop talking. All right, we're going to start with Ms. Davis's hearing. We will be taking a break at 12 noon, so if we don't finish, we'll have to take a little lunch break and then come back and finish, but we will do what we can in the time allotted, okay?
Thank you.
So let's go on the record. We will now proceed in the matter of Teresa Lynette Davis. The OAH number is 2019-02-0218. This is a petition for reinstatement of license before the board. Let me get appearances, please.
Deputy Attorney General Elaine Yan appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under California Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Can you state and spell your name, please?
Teresa Lynette Davis, T-H-E-R-E-S-A, Lynette, L-Y-N-E-T-T-E, Davis, D-A-V-I-S.
All right, and you're not represented by counsel this morning?
No.
Were you here this morning when I explained how these procedures operate?
Yes.
And you've been observing the other hearings that came before you?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about the procedures?
No.
Did you take the oath this morning?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Yan, do you want to make an opening statement, or?
I would like to first mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1, the original petition packet and the accompanying documents. The board members and the petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of documents. The documents consist of Section A, the petition for reinstatement and supporting documents. Section B is the license certification. Section C is notice of hearing and related correspondence. And Section D, the board's decision dated September 21, 2001, accepting surrender of petitioner's vocational nurse license.
I'll mark the package as Exhibit 1. Ms. Davis, do you have any objections to Exhibit 1 being considered as evidence?
No.
Okay, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
I would now like to offer a brief summary of the case.
Go ahead.
On May 8th, 2000, the board issued Ms. Davis vocational nurse license number 191680. On January 13th, 2011, the board filed an accusation alleging multiple causes of discipline due to 2 convictions of driving under the influence of alcohol. One conviction from August 17, 2000, and the other December 22, 2009. On September 21st, 2011, the board accepted the petitioner's voluntary surrender of her vocational nurse license. The effective date of the surrender was October 21st, 2011. On May 10th, 2018, Ms. Davis filed her petition for reinstatement of her vocational nurse license. Ms. Davis submitted 10 letters of recommendation, but most of the letters are dated in January 2016, more than 3 years ago, with the most recent letter dated November 9th, 2016. When asked why she's petitioning for the board for reinstatement, Ms. Davis states that she does not wish to practice as a vocational nurse, but simply wants to change the status of her license on the practitioner data bank. I'm now prepared to proceed with questions for Ms. Davis, unless she wishes to make an opening statement first.
Well, let's see. Would you like to make a statement?
I have a question. The dates that you have on the DUI, what was the dates?
Can you restate the dates that you had mentioned?
Yes, I have one conviction from August 17, 2000, and the other is December 22, 2009.
Okay. Would you like to make an opening statement?
No.
All right. Well, let's proceed with questions from Ms. Yan. Do you want to start by asking some questions?
Yes,
Go
Ms.
ahead.
Davis, why did you not provide any letters of recommendation that are dated within the last 3 years?
Those are letters of recommendation that I had when I went for my RN board. I used the same letters. Those letters, people are currently aware, and they already know the whole situation.
So is there a reason that you did not ask for new letters of recommendation for this petition that you submitted just in 2018?
No, I didn't even think about, it's being dated. I just submitted what people gave me at the time.
If the board grants your petition, is it true that you don't plan on working under your vocational nursing license?
No, because I'm a RN nurse and a nurse practitioner. So I practice now as a nurse, but I feel like all my licenses are important to me. So this is why I want it reinstated.
Why is this license important to you if you're not planning to practice under it?
Because I worked very hard for all my licenses. And I take nursing very serious. I love it. Out of the 19 years of nursing, I worked 7 years as an LVN. And I just feel, why would I have one license surrendered and working as an RN, so as a nurse practitioner? So I just feel like I want all my licenses that I worked for, in hand.
Since you're already working as a registered nurse and a nurse practitioner, are you willing to take the vocational nurse examination again in order to reinstate your license?
Oh, yes, I'll take it.
And do you have any assurances that you can give the board that you won't relapse in the future and put your patients and the public in danger?
Yes. You know, my DUIs were like 20 years ago and 10 years ago. I learned a lot, learned my lesson. My career was at stake, and, you know, I learned a lot for it. I did everything that I was supposed to do, and I love what I do. So I never put any harm to any patients in the clinics, in the hospital, although I did do, you know, put the public at risk, but I never at risk with my patients.
No further questions at this time.
All right, let's start with Donna Norton this time. Do you have any questions?
Congratulations on your RN and your FNP.
Yes.
So are you attending meetings now?
Not now, no.
Not now? Okay, so when this application was submitted, you said you were attending one per week. You just stopped going?
That was when I was for the RN board. For the RN board, I was on working with restricted license, so I was always working. So the RN board had me on 3-year probation. I did AA meetings, I did nurse support groups, and random drug testing.
And do you currently have a sponsor?
I don't have a sponsor currently. I did, but right now I just have a big support group.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Paul Sellers, do you have any questions?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, also congratulations on your additional licenses. So here's my concern, because it's a alcohol case, there potentially would be requirements. You would have to go on to probation with the BVMPT. Are you prepared to go back to having to provide biological samples, to provide all of the oversight? If you've been on probation with the BRN, you understand what the potential is. Are you prepared for that with this board?
It depends on how long it is, because I did go through that, you know, previously, which cost tremendous amount of money. You know, I wouldn't mind doing it. It's just so much money, you know. But
So
I'll do what I have to do.
So you're prepared if we were to grant it and have conditions, you're prepared to meet those conditions, those requirements?
Yes.
Okay. No, I have no further questions.
John Deerking, do you have questions?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. It's, is it Ms. Davis Bates?
Yes, now, yes.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for
Good
being
morning.
here. Can you describe just a little bit about the network, the support network that you have currently?
Well, I have my family. I have my church home. I have my boss. So I have people around me that's very supportive, supportive in my decisions, supportive in my education. So it's a lot of people around me.
And do you have a sobriety date?
October 2012.
Any specific day in October?
No, I don't remember. I think it's the 12th.
What would you tell the students today regarding how important it is to engage in self-care, I guess you could say?
I would tell them this is very important if you really take nursing serious, and not only just nursing your life and other people's life. If this is what you want to do, you think before you do what you do, and don't do it, because this really, I mean, it almost took my whole livelihood away, and I really learned from it. So, you know, think about what you do before you even do it.
All right, thank you.
All right, Bernice Bass de Martinez, do you have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Hello there.
Hi.
You doing okay?
Yes.
All right.
Nervous.
If I'm understanding correctly, you do not want to practice as an LVN. Is that accurate?
Yes, because from my understanding, if you have a higher nursing level, you can't practice as a lower level anyway. I mean, like LVN, not, it supersedes the RN, NP supersedes the LVN. So, no, I won't be practicing as a LVN.
I ask because if we make a decision to adapt what your request is, there's potential of probation, which in addition to the testing, there is a requirement that you work a certain period of time for consistent months as an LVN. There are some additional requirements that could be also placed in the probation that would not necessarily be what you're doing now as an RN. And I just want to make sure that's clear.
No, I did not know that, no.
Okay. Been change the subject again. You have been working very hard on advanced degrees.
Yes.
And your vision of your future, can you clarify that just a little bit for us?
My future?
Yes,
So, as of now, I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I currently work, managing, diagnosing, treating patients. My future, right now, I'm enrolled for acute care nurse practitioner. I'm going to start probably in May, and then my doctorate. So I do plan on advancing to my doctorate level real soon.
Is that a DN?
Yes, DNP.
Does that really require an LVN?
No.
Other than your concern that it be an active license on your record, is there anything else you want us to know?
Not just an active license, but, it's something that I worked for. It's something that's on my practitioner data bank, and it shows like surrender, and it's just something that I was thinking like, let me, see if I can just have this clear, have this, than a surrender, better than a, something better than a surrender on my license. So that's what I was hoping for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Tammy and Dozo, any questions?
No questions.
Ken Maxey, any questions?
Just a comment. I want to commend you for changing your life.
Thank you.
I think it's a testament to your commitment to the profession, and also to yourself as an individual to say, I've made some mistakes, I've learned from those, and I'm moving forward with my career. And I think it's a testament to a lot of us in this room who have all made mistakes at some point. My question is, what are you doing to ensure that you're reaching back to LVNs to ensure that they know that making mistakes is not the end, but it's an opportunity for them to learn from their mistakes and move on with their career?
Yes, it is most definitely a learning situation. You can come back from it, but you have to be dedicated, and you have to be focused, and you have to have your support group and your vision. And I think the Board of Nursing, especially, being that the RN board let me be able to still work with my restricted license. I think my bosses at the time, who I had to come to, it's an embarrassing situation, but I had to take responsibility for it. And they had to sign my monthly, quarterly evaluations for the Board of Nursing. They had to, I had to be on certain restrictions. I couldn't be charge nurse anymore. I couldn't do this. It was a lot. But I worked through it. I stuck through it. And at that time, I was in school during the probation period and thought to, put my mind and my time somewhere else as opposed to out drinking.
And what have you done to reach back to LVNs or students that are pursuing an LVN?
Like, I don't understand.
To maybe mentor, maybe...
Oh, I have not really been around the, LVNs to reach back, but if they ever, if I ever am, I will, explain to them. I will reach out to them.
Alita Carpenter, do you have any questions?
No, they've been answered, thank you.
Cheryl Turner, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Ms. Yan, any final questions for the petitioner or closing recommendations?
And no questions and no closing comments.
All right, I'll give you the last word. Anything you'd like to say before we finish up with you?
Like I said, I'd just like to state, although, the LVN, my RN does supersede the LVN, I just felt like this was really, something that I really worked hard for. And it's something that I, accomplished. Out of my 19 years of nursing, like I said, I did 7 of those years as an LVN and got, developed a lot of experience. I was in the hospital, I did cardiac units, and I really learned from it. And I enjoy what I do, so this was just something that accomplishment in my life, besides being, I started from a CNA all the way up. And it's just an accomplishment. And that's something that I worked hard for, and this is why I'm here today.
All right. When do you come back for lunch? How much time is it? 1 or 1:30? 1? All right, well, thank you very much. That will conclude the hearing. We are going to go off the record, and we're in recess till 1 o'clock.
I suppose I got to turn this on.
All right, welcome back from lunch. We're going to continue on now. Is Candace Evans present? Any appearance by Candace Evans? She's the next on the docket. Hearing nothing. Let's go on the record. So we're back on the record after a lunch recess, and we will now proceed with the next matter in line, which is Candace Evans. I've asked if Candace Evans is present. She is not. Her OAH case number is 2019020220. She filed a petition for reinstatement of license. That's before the board. Let me get appearances. Who's appearing for the Attorney General?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Michael Yee, last name is spelled Y-I, thank you. Appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
All right, we've had no check-in or no appearance by Ms. Evans, so this is going to be declared a no-show, and we're simply going to dismiss the matter. Is that according to your procedures? So her petition is dismissed, and we will now move on to the next matter in line, which is Angela Layton. Are you present, Angela? You want to step forward and have a seat at the council table with your witness? All right, Ms. Layton, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And who do you have with you here today?
This is Clara.
Can you state and spell your name?
Yes, my name is Clara Cable.
I'm a registered nurse, and I'm here as a support person, a friend, and a character witness to Angelita. And I'm
Okay.
at your service should you have any questions.
Very good. Ms. Layton, you have no attorney who's here to represent you today? Okay, I need you to speak into the microphone.
No, I do not.
Just pull the microphone in front of you.
Thank you.
Give it to your witness when she's ready to testify. Were you present this morning when I explained these procedures?
Yes, I was.
And have you been here this morning to watch the other cases as they proceeded?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about the procedures?
No.
Did you take the oath when I administered it this morning?
Yes.
Okay. Did you bring any documents with you that you wanted to present to the board?
I brought some with me. You guys have, I believe you should have. I had sent, but I have 5 extra ones.
Are
and
they
they're
copies
14
of-
copies. Just supporting documents. There's my CPR.
Was that attached to your petition? Are these duplicates of what you've already presented?
No, these are new. These are, I'm glad my 7th birthday AA card from my
Okay,
group.
we'll want to see
Just
that.
stuff like that, and my children insisted on writing a support letter
Good.
for me, both of them. So there are 14 copies of each, and there are 5, if I could add them for you.
All right, why don't you step forward and hand, and we will pass them along. Did you bring a copy for the Attorney General as well?
I have what was.
Why don't you pass them along, and we'll make sure the Attorney General gets a copy.
Oh, I have, there are 14 copies.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, while those are being disseminated, let me, did I get appearances from the Attorney General's office? Who's appearing for the Attorney General?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Michael Yee, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. Mr. Yee, did you want to make an opening statement or any opening remarks?
As a preliminary matter, I would first like to mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1, the petition packet for petitioner Angeletta Marjorie Layton and the accompanying documents. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of Exhibit 1.
I don't think I have a copy. You want to step forward and hand that to me? All right, thank you. I've received it. I'm marking it as Exhibit number 1. Ms. Layton, do you have any objections to the packet being admitted into evidence?
No, I don't.
Exhibit 1 is admitted. Mr. Yee, would you like to make a summary of the case?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Go ahead. Yep,
Yes,
everyone,
can
please,
you hear me? Yes?
Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Petitioner Angeletta Marjorie Layton was issued vocational nurse license number VN 210755 on August 26, 2004. An accusation was filed in January 2014 alleging causes for discipline against petitioner relating to her conviction in February 2012 for violations of Vehicle Code Sections 23152, subdivisions A and B, for driving under the influence of alcohol. The underlying facts are as follows. Petitioner was arrested in December 2011 after exhibiting signs of alcohol intoxication. A forensic blood alcohol test revealed a blood alcohol content of 0.25%, almost 3 times the legal limit in California. The police also discovered several bottles of prescription medication in petitioner's name, including Prozac, Norco, Xanax, and Neurontin. Petitioner was served with the accusation in January 2014 and a notice of defense at her address of record. Petitioner failed to file a notice of defense within 15 days of service of the accusation. The board found that petitioner was in default and revoked her license effective March 8, 2015. Petitioner is now seeking reinstatement of her license because she states that she has been sober for over 7 years. In addition to her employment as an office manager at Jericho Systems, petitioner has volunteered at the Chemical Dependency Unit at Loma Linda University Hospital Behavioral Medical Center since September 2017. Petitioner works with substance abuse counselors in a women's group at Loma Linda and in the pain tracking program. In support of her petition, a petitioner submitted recommendation letters from her supervisor at the Loma Linda University Substance Use Recovery and Wellness Center, attesting to her positive interaction with patients. Petitioner also submitted a certificate of completion of continuing nursing education in pain management, substance abuse, and character reference letters from registered nurses with whom she attended Alcoholics Anonymous. Petitioner has also provided documentation of her compliance with the Alcoholics Anonymous program. I'm now prepared to question petitioner unless she wishes to make an opening statement first.
Ms. Layton, would you like to make a statement? Tell the board why you're here.
My name is Angelita Layton, and why I'm here is to ask the board if they would please reinstate my license as an LVN. I identify myself as an alcoholic woman. My sobriety date is February 10th, 2012. And I am here. It's taken some courage to do this. I didn't realize this would be that frightening, but yeah, but that's it. Thank you.
All right, let's see if the board has, well, let me start with Mr. Yee. Do you have any questions, Mr. Yee?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
What are your job duties or responsibilities at Jericho Systems?
Jericho, actually, the owner of the company was here with me this morning. She had to leave. Unfortunately, she has a commitment with the county, San Bernardino. But basically, just office management stuff. I think she would be relieved if you guys granted me my license. I'm not exactly on top of the chart with my computer skills as an office manager, but more like a support system there too. Anything they want of me, just go for this, go for that, do this, whatever it takes not to be home. Just staying busy, but just routine, clerical things, shopping for office supplies.
And where did you work before Jericho Systems?
I work with the state of California, the Department of Mental Health and Developmental Disability in Orange County.
And what was your position there?
LVN.
Did you have an addiction to any medications when you were arrested in December 2011?
No.
To follow up on that question, did you have an addiction to any of the prescription medications that were found in your car when you were arrested?
I believe I was becoming dependent upon the pain medication. Whether I was addicted or not, I won't know because I wasn't willing to take that risk. I put myself into a treatment center right after the arrest.
Other than the information contained in your petition package, what efforts, if any, are you making to ensure that you will not abuse alcohol or medications again?
Oh my goodness, it would be easier to tell you what I wouldn't do. The steps that I'm taking right now, as I said earlier, I identified myself as an alcoholic woman. I embrace myself, I surround myself. I give of myself in Alcoholics Anonymous. I sponsor women. I have a sponsor. Unfortunately, she wanted to come today. She could not. Her grandson is gravely ill, or she would have been here. There is a letter from her in my file, I believe you have. But I just do whatever I can to be of help to others. and that helps me, myself, very much so. I volunteer at the hospital in the city where I live, and I volunteered for a year at the chemical dependency unit. Right now, I'm volunteering at the children's unit and the East Campus, and also a program called No One Dies Alone. Actually, yesterday we had a vigil in the emergency room for someone. So I stay busy, but most of all, Alcoholics Anonymous, I believe, has saved my life. And as a direct result of being a part of this 12-step program and working the step, helping other women to go through the step, I am at peace with myself today. I'm grateful, and I'm glad that God probably intervened that night and I didn't hurt anyone or myself. And that's a risk I'm not willing to take again. So I choose a life of sobriety, and I do whatever it takes to stay sober.
What professional employment or endeavors do you intend to pursue if your license is reinstated?
I was just about to get all the stuff I needed to do the bridge program for the RN when all this went down. And there's a reason for everything. That's how I live my life. There's a reason for everything that happens. But I would like to go on to being an RN.
Thank you. Nothing further at this time. I may have additional questions after the board members have questioned petitioner.
All right, well, let's see if the board has any questions. Donna Norton, do you have any questions?
Just a couple.
Go ahead.
So you said you were becoming dependent upon the medications that were found in the car. And I see in your packet that you've been treated for chronic pain. So what are you doing now to deal with the chronic pain, or has it subsided? Because I'm assuming that was one of the things that was leading you to take all those medications that you say you were becoming dependent upon.
What I did, I got the information on pain track programs, and there was one in Loma Linda, there was one in Long Beach. I chose Loma Linda. And when I went into this pain track program, the doctors there, during their lectures were really beneficial, opiates on the brain, and, and when they told me that I would eventually be in less pain not taking the medication than I am taking it, I thought they'd lost their minds, and it happened to be true. I don't need opiates today. I don't need my pain. When I went in, I was like a 10 on a scale from 1 to 10. And today, kind of iffy, 2-ish, 3-ish, which to me is no pain, because it was my friend, really, pain. But yeah, I went into the pain track program, and I embraced that too, and all the education, the lectures, the knowledge on opiates. I believe it's an amazing thing for acute short-term pain, but chronic pain now, dependency would be a direct result.
So what was going on in your life at the time that you had this incident? Like, so what was your triggers? Was it the pain, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what was causing you? I mean, it was a pretty high blood alcohol content level and the 10 medications. So what was going on in your life at that time that is different now?
My life was a mess. There was depression. There was emptiness syndrome. The youngest had gone off to college. I was helping Psychiatric and hurt my back. I had to move out of my apartment. I was just spiraling down into this nothingness. That day, actually, it was December 7th, 2011. I'm not in a hurry to forget that day, because that day is keeping me sober today. But I had just picked up those medication. They were in the back of my car on the floor. I'd thrown the bags in there. And went back to the apartment to turn the key in, and, just the wholeness, the emptiness of it. I had a phone call from my girlfriend and her husband. They were down the street at Charlie Palmer's at Bloomingdale's. If you don't know, it's at South Coast Plaza, Bloomingdale's. They have this bar for the yuppie people. And she said, come down and be with us. We haven't seen you for a while. And I thought, well, why not? So I got there, and, they had a martini there for me. I'm a wine drinker. But it tasted great. And then there was another and another. And blood alcohol level a couple hours later of a 0.25. I'm not really proud of it. Yeah.
So would you say that, because you say you identify as an alcoholic?
I believe in the disease aspect of it, and again, through being in the treatment center See, when I got the negative consequences from you guys, I was almost like 3 years sober. When this happened, my children basically gave me the ultimatum. We had this intervention, and they're like, Mom, rehab. My daughter told me point blank, I'm moving to Chicago. I am changing my phone number, and after you're about 6 months sober, I'll talk to you. If you find my phone number, I'll change it again. So when I went into treatment, it was either this work or it didn't. I was just sad. She wrote one of the letters I just gave to you. Today, they're very much in my life. They're very, they've seen the changes in me, and I see the changes in me, and I really don't need my children to validate how I'm feeling today. But it started with that, like, oh my goodness. So when I went in, it was kind of more for having them back in my life than, I wasn't fully accepting that this is what's happening, until I became aware of it. I accepted it. I stepped into action with getting a sponsor, working the steps, believing, out of curiosity. First, it was curiosity, and getting into action and being accountable, There was no going home and opening a bottle of wine if something was upsetting for me, or I felt lonely or sad or anything. Today, it's just, everything is just real. It's real in my world, and I like it that way. And I do whatever my best to help other women to have fun in sobriety. It doesn't cost a lot of money just to smile or laugh. So that's what I do.
And you say you're going to AA. You pretty much are living that lifestyle now.
I need to go back to work.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
So thank you.
Paul Sellers, any questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
John Deerking, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Bernice Bass DeMartinez, do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
You shared with us how you got to that point, December 11th, the date you said you'll never forget.
December 7th, 2011.
7th, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That you'll never forget. If, just if, because it sounds like you're doing quite well now.
Thank you.
If stressors or circumstances were to change tomorrow, what actions would you take?
I have my program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have my sponsor. I have hundreds of people, hundreds of friends in this program today. I pick up the phone, I make a phone call. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. I go to a meeting, I participate, I share. I listen to others, their story. So I embrace my program, my meetings. I have commitments at meetings. I am secretary for 3 I can think of right now. And, with the women that I sponsor too. So they help me a lot, actually, So I always have that. And I don't intend to ever let that go, because that comes first. My sobriety really does. Without it, I have nothing. Not my children, If I wasn't sober, I couldn't even be sitting here in front like this talking to you, really. Yeah, so.
And if we are to reinstate your license, what are the first steps you'll take? Where will you get employment? Have you thought about the requirements that will go along with it?
Actually, I have, and I thought about. I really enjoy the field of psych. I like that, but unfortunately, by where I live, Patton, I don't think they're hiring LVNs. At least somebody told me. But I have been. The hospital's closer to my home or the convalescent home, where, I believe that I would prefer to be at in the convalescent home. I live in an area where there's just so much help to give. There's so many facilities that, are there, from hospitals to convalescent homes. So today in my life, it's like first step first, and one day at a time thing. So this is my first step first, is being here. And the rest falls in. I can't allow myself to be way out there. First things first.
Thank you. No more questions.
Tammy Andozo, any questions?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Ken Maxey, any questions?
None from me.
Alita Carpenter, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Cheryl Turner, any questions?
Yes, one or two.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So your conviction occurred the early part of February 2012?
No, my conviction was December 7th, I got the DUI December 7th, 2011. I was in court on February 8th, 2012, and 2 days later, I'm on my way to Loma Linda into rehab because I wanted to know what my negative consequences with the court was, so I wouldn't have to be in there thinking about all this stuff. I wanted to know what I had to deal with, so that's what I did. So I was convicted on February 8th, 2012 of DUI.
Okay, so that's more than 7 years ago, according to my calculations. Okay. And in your petition for reinstatement, you indicated that you thought the revocation was for 3 years?
I'm sorry?
That's in your petition for reinstatement, you thought your license was revoked for 3 years?
I did. I was reading the thing and I saw 3 years and I put it in a drawer and I just felt sorry for myself and I thought, oh my goodness, it's such a long time. But then I did not. After reading it through thoroughly a year and a half ago, I saw where I could have asked for it to be reinstated after a year. And I called right away. I spoke with a Mr. Noreen, I believe. And, the rest followed. But it was good, though, in all honesty. I really needed that time, I think.
And it looks like you did not receive notice of the default because you were not at the address on file?
I was not accountable.
Okay, so you weren't able to challenge or try to set aside the default. You missed that time.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I'm speaking over you. My mother got ill and I went back east. And I had no intentions of staying that long, in all honesty. I had a phone call, and my friend said, there's a big package here that says Consumer Affairs, and I was thinking of a magazine, in all honesty. My mom has early dementia, and there was just so much going on. So when I did contact the board, and I'm, hearing all this stuff, I was in California. So I was not responsible. I was not accountable. I should have, and I know better, but it just wasn't registering. It was just mom stuff that was going on for me at that time, and I do apologize. And that has been dire consequences, and it's on me, It's on me. I can make sure that will never happen again, though. I can tell you that much. I've learned from it.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Yee, any follow-up?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. couple of things. First of all, you've presented some documents to the board, which I'm going to mark collectively as Exhibit A. Are there any objections to Exhibit A coming into evidence?
No, Your Honor. Oh, actually, I would appreciate a copy of the documents first.
Oh, did we run out of copies at that end? Oh, there's plenty of copies. We will get you a set. Just so I'm clear, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of paper.
Yes.
Okay. So Exhibit A is admitted, and you've brought somebody here to testify, is that correct?
This is Clara.
Okay, can you state your, I know you stated it earlier, state and spell your name, please?
My last name is Cable, C-A-B-L-E. First name Clara, C-L-A-R-A.
Did you take the oath this morning?
Yes.
Okay. And you're here to testify in support
Yes.
of Ms. Layton?
Yes,
What would you
I
like to say in support of her petition?
I would like to say that I've known Ms. Layton now for about 9 months, and she has been a friend and a mentor to me and my family. We have had our struggles with alcohol, and she has shared greatly her strength and hope with us. I compare it to a disease like cancer. It comes in various stages, but the end result can be disastrous. And she has intervened in our life and been a very extremely reliable and responsible person. She is very active in the AA community in our town. And everywhere you go, people know her as Angel. And I just want to tell you all that she has become a part of our family, my family. She knows my husband, my kids, my parents. She is not a danger to herself or anyone else. She's a person who supports and promotes healing and becoming a more whole person. I did read the letters of recommendation for her, and I agree wholeheartedly with them. I also read what happened the night in 2011, and I did not know Angel when she was a drinker, but I do know her now. And she's an incredible person who has so much to give in the field of nursing and healing. And I just wanted to share that all with you, and thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Let me just put it out there to the members of the board and to Mr. Yee. Do any of you have any questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Anybody on the board? Anybody on the board? You have one question?
I have none.
None. All right, well, thank you for appearing and for your testimony. Mr. Yee, any closing remarks you want to make?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
I'll give you the last word. What would you like to say in closing?
Thank you guys for taking the time out to actually having me here and to hearing me. I am very grateful and I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will conclude the hearing with respect to Ms. Layton. Thank you very much.
Thank
Let's go off the
you.
record,
Thanks, everyone.
and you're free to go. Let's see, what do we have next? I want to keep moving if that's all right with you. Let's have Mark Riley step forward. All right, very good. Riley. All right. Let's go back on the record. So we will now proceed with the petition of Mark A. Riley. The OAH number is 2019-020256. This is a petition for reinstatement of license before the board. Let me get appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Michael Yee, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California, pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. And sir, can you state and spell your name, please?
Yes, Mark Riley, M-A-R-K-R-E-I-L-L-Y.
All right. And you are not represented by an attorney here today?
No.
Okay, were you here this morning when I gave?
Yes, I signed in at 8:30, but I sat over there and nobody said to sit here.
That's all right. I just want to make sure you heard my explanation of these procedures. And do you have any questions about the procedures?
No.
Did you take the oath when I administered the oath?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you bring any documents that you wanted to present to the board?
Yes, I got this from Kaiser. I went to a group, but it doesn't seem accurate. I didn't do a lot of meetings.
So this is a set of, I'll take one. Let me send the series this way. I think I gave you enough. We need one more?
Yeah.
I used to go to the meetings like twice a week, and it doesn't appear that they're on there.
Hold on, let's make sure we got your documents here. Before we proceed any further, there was one member of the board who felt she may have a potential conflict. It's Ms. Norton, is that correct?
Yes.
You want to describe what that potential conflict is?
So I work at the facility where you receive your care. I have worked there for 30 years. I don't believe that we have ever interacted in my role as an LVN there, but I did want to disclose to you that that is where I receive my care.
I worked at Napa State Hospital and Patton. Which one were you at?
No, I work where you receive your medical care.
Oh, okay.
So that's my facility. And what I'm saying is I don't know if I have ever had any interaction with you in my role as a nurse. I don't recall you, but I did want to disclose that we may have had an interaction over the 30 years that I have worked there.
I don't recall seeing you.
All right. Is there any objections to her deliberating in this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a record of that. Mr. Yee, did you want to make an opening remark?
As a preliminary matter, Your Honor, I'd like to first mark for identification and offer into evidence as Exhibit 1 the petition packet for petitioner Mark A. Riley and accompanying documents. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of Exhibit 1.
All right. I will mark it as Exhibit 1 for identification. Mr. Riley, any objections to the petition package coming into evidence?
No.
Exhibit 1 is admitted. Want to give us a summary of the case, Mr. Yee?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Petitioner Mark Riley was issued psychiatric technician license number PT31300 on May 13, 2002. The license expired on May 31, 2015. An accusation was filed in June 2005 alleging causes for discipline against petitioner relating to his conviction in December 2004 for violation of Vehicle Code Section 23152, Subdivision A, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. The underlying facts are as follows. Petitioner was detained in October 2004 in Napa County for excessive speeding, which endangered himself and the public. Testing revealed a blood alcohol content of 0.11%. Petitioner was placed on probation for 5 years, among other penalties and fines. Before the first accusation was filed, petitioner had an extensive history of arrests and convictions for driving under the influence, brandishing a weapon in a threatening manner, and assault with a deadly weapon. Petitioner stated that these arrests and convictions stem from his alcohol abuse. Petitioner and the board's executive officer entered into a stipulated settlement whereby petitioner admitted the truth of the allegations in the accusation and was placed on probation for 3 years. As part of his probation, petitioner agreed to attend a chemical dependency support group and to completely abstain from alcohol and controlled substances unless lawfully prescribed. The order on the stipulated settlement became effective in January 2006. An accusation and petition to revoke probation was thereafter filed in May 2008, alleging causes for discipline against petitioner relating to the following facts. In May 2005, petitioner was arrested for violation of probation after being involved in a hit-and-run accident, exhibiting signs of alcohol intoxication, and having a blood alcohol content of 0.18%. Petitioner was arrested again in September 2005 after contacting Napa police claiming to be depressed and suicidal. A preliminary alcohol screening test revealed a blood alcohol content of 0.18%. Petitioner was released with terms and conditions requiring that he abstain from drinking alcohol and attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Petitioner was arrested again in February 2007 after driving into a rock wall and leaving the scene. Petitioner was involved in another accident later that day, and his blood alcohol content was determined to be 0.14%. Petitioner was convicted in Napa County of driving under the influence in May 2007 and sentenced to 10 days in jail and placed on 5 years of probation. Petitioner also admitted to violating the terms of his probation and was sentenced to 30 days in jail to be served concurrently with his 10 days. In December 2008, the board issued its decision revoking petitioner's license and placing petitioner on another 3-year probation. A second amended accusation and petition to revoke probation was filed in October 2012, alleging causes for discipline against petitioner for gross negligence and dishonesty relating to and arising from the following facts. In November 2008, petitioner left an assigned constant insight observation shift early without authorization and left a patient without observation. Petitioner failed to document 15-minute observations and to complete a shift summary. Petitioner also falsely stated that he left his shift later than he did. In July and September 2012, petitioner also tested positive for ethanol in violation of his probation. After an administrative hearing on the allegations in the accusation, the board terminated petitioner's probation and revoked his license effective July 25, 2013. The administrative law judge found that petitioner did not sufficiently address his alcohol problem or rehabilitation for any misconduct. Petitioner is now petitioning for reinstatement of his license because his wife, who is a psych tech at Napa State Hospital, is nearing retirement and he feels that he could be a good psych tech. Petitioner wants to go back to work and help her. In support of his petition, petitioner submitted an attendance record from Rebecca Souza, MFT, indicating group attendance from April 27, 2016 through June 20, 2016, and 2 individual appointments. I am now prepared to question petitioner unless he wishes to make an opening statement first.
All right, well, let's turn to Mr. Riley. Is there a statement that you'd like to make?
Yes, about signing out early. Everybody signs in and signs out there. That's common practice. You might not be on the unit when it's time to go home. People are sent to the hospital to watch patients at different units. And it was common practice to sign out early. And I told my shift supervisor that I had to go home. I had a family emergency. And she said, okay, and I left.
You can address the board, not council.
Oh, sorry.
But anything else that you want to state about your petition today as a preliminary matter?
Well, I'm retired right now. I retired 5.5 years ago. And I had a public safety retirement, 20 years, and I wanted to go back to work half-time. And that's about it.
Okay, well, let's see if the board has questions for you. Cheryl Turner, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about the common practice. You mean to sign in and sign out at the same time?
You sign in at 2:30 and immediately sign out at 23:15 and go to work.
Okay, but what time do you leave based on that?
I left 15 minutes early.
So you left at 3 o'clock?
No, no.
I'm trying to understand.
2315 is 11:15 at night. I
okay.
left at 11, and I told my shift lead I had to get home. I had a family emergency. So.
So it's a common practice at that facility? Is that how you're trained to complete your timesheets?
We weren't trained to complete timesheet. That's just the way it's done. Everybody does it that way. And it's, if you read the accusation, it's in there that it's common practice.
All right. And there's no procedure that if you do leave early or leave later to correct that before you leave?
You could line it out and sign next to it, initial it with a different time, I imagine.
Okay. And so if it's common practice, how is it that you were charged with falsifying documents? I mean, did your supervisor or someone from that facility come forward on your behalf to say that it's common practice and therefore you're not guilty of doing anything wrong?
It's not good practice, but it's common practice. No, nobody came forward.
Okay.
And it says it in the petition too, so.
Your petition, oh, okay. Okay, so you've been retired for quite a long time.
5.5 years.
And so are you prepared to go back and test and do everything you need to prepare to take the test and pass the test?
Oh, you mean the state board test?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so you were given probation twice, looked like?
Yes.
Okay. And you weren't able to live up to those terms and conditions. But you feel like now you'd be able to if we were to grant your request?
Yeah, I believe I could.
Okay. And so what about you is different now, where you feel like you would not abuse alcohol to put yourself in the same situation again, where you're facing the loss of your license?
I believe I could.
What's different?
What's different is I've had 5.5 years away from work, and I really want to go back to work part-time. And my wife won't stand for it, drinking or anything like that.
Okay. And what about the brandishing of the weapon? What were the circumstances surrounding that?
I was drinking. That was I believe that was about 30 years ago.
And you had a license to own that weapon?
Yes.
All right, no further questions.
Alita Carpenter, any other questions?
Yes, just a couple. You state that you want to go back to work. Your wife was a psych tech.
Yes.
And you want to go back to work to help her, but she's retiring? How would you be helping her by going back to work?
I have a stepdaughter studying to be a psychologist at Sacramento State, and she's paying for the tuition and all that in the books, and she needs help.
Oh, you mean financially?
Financial help, yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. This 2020 program that you refer to that enabled you to go from a custodial position to a psych tech, how does that work? I'm not familiar with it. I'm not from the industry.
You work 20 hours a week, and you go to school 20 hours a week, and they pay you a 40-hour paycheck. One day I was mopping floors. The next day I was a psych tech. It was sort of hard to make the transition. Most people are PTAs, PTTs, and pre-licensed psych techs. They're actually on the unit working with patients for years. I just went straight from mopping to psych tech. It was pretty hard.
How so?
Well, it was very hard. Just dealing with the patients, telling them, it's to do this, to do that, to give medications and treatment and one-to-one and escorts and that type of thing. I was just told to do it, and I'd never done it before. I did it in school, but Doing it on the job was totally different. It was quite a bit different.
You feel as though there was difficulty with the patients recognizing your new authority?
No,
Is
it was difficult coming up to speed as a psych tech.
Oh, I see what you mean, the work that you had to do.
If you were on the unit for a long time, it would be a lot easier. Most people just fell right into it. I had a lot of difficulty getting up to it, so getting up to speed.
Are you up to speed now?
Yes. I'm not real happy being here. I feel pretty stressed, but
Thank you.
Ken Maxey, any questions?
A couple, yes, thank you. You've utilized your wife as the reason that you're going back, or the ambition to go back. But this is really a profession that we need to hear from you and why you're passionate about going back. Do you still have that passion? Is this something that you're passionate about? And if you are, then what drives that passion?
well, originally I was I was a construction worker. I was a welder and a pipe fitter, and I hired on as a custodian, limited term for 1 year, and then I was extended another year, and then I was hired permanently. And I transferred up to Napa, and they had the 2020 program. So I just wanted to get a better job, do something more interesting than cleaning bathrooms and mopping floors. And I got that job, and it was, I was pretty happy. It was a lot more responsibility, and it was just a lot better job, paid twice as much. Passion for the work. I always was a good psych tech. I always got along well with the patients, and I like working with people.
And are you prepared to make sure that whatever, if you were able to be brought back to be a psych tech, to ensure that you are very conscious of your challenges that you've had in the past and not bring those back into the work environment or to your personal life?
You mean drinking?
Drinking and some of the other actions that you've...
Well, most of that, the criminal activity he was talking about happened 30 or over 30 years ago. It's been a long time. I'm getting pretty old. I'm not out stirring up trouble or drinking out in bars or anything like that. I'm at my age, I just don't do that type of thing. I probably aged out of it.
Okay, thank you.
Tammy and Dozo, any questions?
Thank you. No questions at this time.
Okay, before I move forward, you've handed us a single sheet of paper. Can you tell us what this is?
Yes, I went to Kaiser for the alcohol program, and I was in there quite a while. I don't think it reflects accurately the dates I attended classes. The lady Rebecca didn't even want me in there. She had people that were more using heroin and fentanyl, that type of thing, and she told me that I should probably just go to AA meetings. And at the end of that, I got a job with I was retired. I got a job with the Fairfield-Sassoon School District, and I was back to substitute custodian. And I'm really not physically fit for that. It was getting me in my back and hip and knees. It was very sore. So I did it for like a year, and they let me out, or for the summer vacation, they lay a lot of people off, and then they will hire you back when it's over, and I just didn't go back.
Okay, I just want to know what this document is. I'm going to mark it as Exhibit A for identification. Any objections to Exhibit A?
No, Your Honor.
Well, it's the attending the classes over at Kaiser. What is the CDRP type thing?
It reflects the date that you entered the treatment and the dates that you attended group.
I don't think it reflects the dates.
Doesn't?
It's very...
April 27th, 2016 to June 20th?
No, that's not accurate. I was going twice a week for quite a while.
And why are you presenting this document? I'm not sure why you're handing this to the board.
It was attending CDRP. It was you wanted documentation for rehabilitation, that type of thing, that's what it's for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no objections to it, so I'm going to admit Exhibit A into evidence.
No, I don't have any.
Okay. So let's move on. Ms. DeMartinez, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. You mentioned just with this last document, you spent many more hours
Yes.
in treatment. Are you currently active in any treatment or AA or any other group?
Yes, I go to AA once or twice a week. I like speaker meetings.
Okay, and you have a sponsor?
No, I don't have a sponsor right now.
You've been going consistently, or is this something new?
No, I've been going consistently. I've been going for probably since 1980.
To the same group
No, I'm from,
or somewhere?
well, AA, but I'm from Southern California originally, and then I moved to San Bernardino and then to Napa.
Okay.
So
This-
different places.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding and that I get the facts straight.
Yes, I've been going for quite a while.
Okay.
And then-
And
I'm sorry.
you mentioned, or as you were describing this document, part of the reasoning, you were trying to demonstrate something, but you had said you were let go in some form of employment and told you could come back when you were sober? Help me understand what that was.
No, I was a substitute custodian for the Fairfield Sassoon School District.
Right?
And when somebody doesn't show up or they're on vacation, then I would go in and just work for them and clean classrooms and that type of thing. And when it hit summer vacation, they let a lot of people go, and then they hire you back in September because they just don't need you. They have people doing the deep cleaning and waxing and over the summertime, that type of thing.
So this is the position from which you've retired?
I was retired when I started that, yes. I was looking for a part-time job.
Then, as you're saying, you wish to return to work as a licensed PT to help out your family, your wife, but that's from a financial perspective?
Yes, my
we-
wife is working double shifts all the time at Napa State Hospital. That's where I met her, and to pay for a lot of bills. We have a house. My daughter is in University, Sacramento State, and we have a lot of bills.
Understood. So if I'm hearing correctly, I don't want to just draw the conclusion, but I want to make sure I'm understanding that by becoming licensed again, it will be a big help financially as opposed to just finding any other position or returning maybe to the custodial work.
Yes, well, I'm too old for custodial work. It's physically tearing me up, I'd say. From my waist down, it's very painful. And psych tech isn't like that. I used to get assaulted and get into fights and that type of thing working. But it's not steady. It was like weightlifting, doing aerobic exercise all day, doing the janitorial work type thing. And this is more head work, brain work, paper, documentation, that type of thing.
And
Psych tech is.
Okay. Then lastly, describe how you've been preparing yourself if you are to be granted an opportunity for licensure.
Well, I haven't had a drink since 2/1/16. That's 3 years, a little over that. And I've been retired. I'm not sure what you mean about preparing myself.
Well, if you want to go back as a licensed PT, what have you done to stay up to date with any changes in the profession?
Well,
or any reading you've done, classes you might have taken?
I haven't taken any classes. I've read some books at the library. My wife every day is telling me about different things on the job, how it's changed, and it's changed quite a bit from what I understand. Documentation is much more strict. They don't have as many one-to-ones, that type of thing. Watching a patient who's suicidal or like that, they don't do it because of the financial cost. It's mainly reading books and talking to my wife.
Thank you.
All right, John Deerking, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Riley, good afternoon. So what is your sobriety date, sir?
2/1/16.
And I note from your petition, you've had several, have you had any inpatient programs?
CDRP, yeah, I went 2005 to Kaiser Vallejo CDRP.
Oh, okay.
So that was, 14 years ago. And I fell off the wagon a couple of times, relapsed.
Yeah, I saw that at page A5. So that was inpatient?
Oh, actually, it was outpatient. You went every day for, it wasn't inpatient. You went every day from early morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon for classes and education type of thing.
And you indicated after that date you fell off the wagon?
Well, not directly. After I couldn't, yeah, I did fall off the wagon, but the exact dates I really am not sure of.
No, I understand that. My point is, sometime between one outpatient treatment program and another, there was a period where you were not sober, right?
Yes.
Because you've had a rather established history of relationship with alcohol, right?
Yes.
Probably 40 years or more?
Yes, I'd say so. I had my older brother die of drinking, cirrhosis.
Okay, so since February 1st, 2016, other than AA, do you attend any other support groups for addictions?
No, I don't.
And are you currently going to AA?
Yes,
And how many times a week do you go?
once or twice.
So how are you spending your time? What do you do during the day?
I have a nice motorcycle. I work on it. I ride it. I go fishing. I like to read. I take care of the house. I have to do the dishes, the laundry, clean the house. I wind up working on everyone's car, fixing my son's car, and just staying around the house, doing household type things, riding my motorcycle. I like that.
And did you say you had a sponsor?
I don't have a sponsor right now.
No sponsor.
I
Okay,
had one
so-
at a time, but not now.
Okay, so other than your attendance at AA once or twice a week, what kind of support do you have then to maintain sobriety?
My wife, she doesn't allow that. She doesn't allow drinking or anything like that.
Okay, nothing else, Your Honor.
Paul Sellers, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I think I just want to make sure that you've made, I understand what you're attempting to do. You want to get your license back. You want to go back as a retired Inuit and work part-time
If
for
I can, yes.
some period of time. I work at Atascadero State Hospital. I'm familiar with Napa and their facility. Now, you understand, well, I guess my concern is this. You do have an established history of drinking. You have multiple DUIs. You've been on probation twice. You're going to go back to a part-time position, and you're going to have a number of responsibilities if we were to reinstate your license, to include paying for oversight and the like. Why is this different? Have you worked the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous? Have you gone through all 12 steps in the last 3 years?
Yes, I did.
What is different? Why is this time different? I mean, I guess I'm not quite getting. You're doing this for your wife. You're doing it for. She's going to keep you from drinking. I just don't see what's in it for you in all of this, and you got to be motivated here.
Well, motivated, all I can say is I really would like to go back to work. I did go back to work, and it wasn't my kind of job. I was too old for it, and I just believe I could do it again and be good at it.
You've thought through the fact that you'll be back on probation. You'll be back to having to do the things that you failed at last time. Yeah, you've thought this through.
I don't think I failed at them.
You've been on probation twice.
Oh, probation, yes. I really don't know what to tell you. I'd like to give it a shot and go back and do it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Donna Norton, any questions?
Yes, I just want to follow up on a couple things. You said you were good at being a PT.
Yes.
So I want to go back to the incident where you got you were terminated, correct?
Yes,
For-
I was terminated, and then I had a hearing. I got my job back and back pay.
So I heard you say that it was common practice to sign out and no big deal. Common practice. But there's another piece to that where it says that you failed to document 15-minute observations. So did you fail to make the 15-minute observations on that patient that required constant inside observation?
I was doing 15-minute observations, as I recall.
So I'll refer you to,
Maybe they meant the last, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I'll if you want to look, well, you don't have your packet. So on page D3, it's talking about what happened on November 6, 2018 at Napa State Hospital, where you signed out early, falsified that you stayed, the 15-minute thing. But then within that also, it says that you failed to document 15-minute observations and failed to complete the shift summary. So
That
is
was
it
pretty
your-
common, too. The shift summary could be done the day after. People would leave a space on the record so it could be filled in. I know it doesn't sound right, but it would sound good, but that's how it was.
I get that. But did you make the 15-minute observations?
No, RN came in and did it after me.
You can't make 15-minute observations afterwards. The observation has to be made every 15 minutes, whether you document it or not. That's what I'm asking you. Did you have this patient in constant inside observation?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay. You said you've been going to AA since 1980. Did I hear you correct?
Yes.
Since 1980. Okay. You didn't bring, I get the fact that you're retired. That may be why you didn't bring any letters of recommendation, but you also didn't bring any documentation of your attendance at AA. Why is that?
Well, once I retired, I didn't walk around with papers getting them signed at AA meetings. I was glad to get away from that.
Understood, but you're now here before the board petitioning to get your license back, and the packet actually calls for you to give us attendance records at AA. And if you're saying that you're still going twice a week, I guess my concern is that you've been going to AA since 1980. And can you tell me what you've learned by going to AA since 1980?
Well, what I've learned, well, not to stay away from alcohol, which I haven't been totally successful at. To be honest, not to to do the wrong thing.
Okay. Why sobriety February 1st, 2016?
Why? Up to that point, I would drink a little bit here and there, and I just thought it was time I'd go down to CDRP and really quit. I'd quit and start. I had like 2 years sobriety at a stretch in there, and then I'd kick up again. I'd drink some beer and start again, and then stop and start. And that type
So
of thing.
what would trigger you to pick it up and start again?
Boredom, usually.
Boredom?
Yes.
But you believe that you'll be successful this time in not picking it up again?
Yes, I believe I would be.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Yee, any further questions for the petitioner or closing recommendation?
Just two questions, Your Honor. Under reason for leaving from the Fairfield-Suisun School District, you wrote missed report date after summer break. That indicates to me that you failed to report after summer break, which is the reason why you left that employment. Is that true?
When it was time to go back, I didn't go back, right? It's like being rehired.
But did you miss your report date to return to work?
I actually never really got one from my boss. You have to go down and talk to him, so I tell him you want to go back to work. Go back to work, I'm sorry.
Have you sought any other employment since June 2017?
No.
Thank you, nothing further.
All right, I'll give you the last word. What would you like to say in closing?
I think I could be successful at it. I'd like to do it again and get my license back if I could.
All right, well, with that, we will conclude the hearing on your matter and go off the record. Thank you very much. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Let's take a little recess, 10 minutes. We'll resume at 2:25. All right, let's go back on the record. So we will now pick up with the matter of Lorena Vallejo. The OAH number is 2019020257. This is a petition for reinstatement of license before the board. Let me get appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Miller, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California pursuant to Government Code 11522.
Thank you. And ma'am, can you state and spell your name?
Lorena Vallejo, Lorena, Vallejo, Vallejo.
All right, and you do not have an attorney representing
I
you today?
don't.
Were you here this morning when I explained how these procedures operate?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about the procedures?
No.
Did you take the oath this morning?
Yes.
All right. You have furnished some documents before we got started, correct?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, I'm going to mark those collectively as Exhibit A. And you want the board to consider these documents?
Yes, please.
Ms. Miller, any objections?
No, Your Honor.
So I will admit Exhibit A. Ms. Miller, did you want to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor, but first I would like to mark for identification and offer into evidence the original petition packet as Exhibit 1. A copy of the packet has been provided to all the members of the board and to petitioner.
All right, Ms. Vallejo, do you have any objections to the petition package being considered as evidence?
No.
Okay, Exhibit number 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You want to proceed with the summary?
Thank you.
Please.
Ms. Vallejo was issued vocational license number VN 227468 on May 16th of 2007. The board filed an accusation on July 25th of 2013. A proposed decision was adopted by the board on July 31st of 2014, which required the revocation of her license. The basis for the decision was that respondent was one of numerous defendants engaged in a scheme to defraud Medi-Cal by billing for services when they should have billed at the lower rate of a home health aide. In 2011, Ms. Vallejo was convicted of felony counts of healthcare fraud in the case entitled The United States of America versus Lorena Vallejo Gomez, aka Lorena Vallejo Llanos. She was placed on probation for 2 years and ordered to pay $27,873 in restitution. Furthermore, the ALJ found in the course of an investigation by the Bureau of Medi-Cal Fraud that petitioner admitted that she performed duties that required either a board licensure or licensure by the Board of Registered Nursing. The ALJ also noted in the decision that during the hearing, Ms. Vallejo took no responsibility for her conduct. On August 27th of 2014, petitioner filed a petition for reconsideration, which was denied by the board. Her license was revoked as of September 9th, 2014. She was ordered to pay $3,265.50 for the investigation and prosecution prior to issuance of a new license. She has filed the petition for reinstatement, which was dated May 14th of 2018. In her petition packet, she states that she takes full responsibility for all her wrongdoing and states that she has realized she allowed a crime to be committed. In her petition, she indicated that nursing is her passion and that she would like to further her career in that field. As part of her documentation, she submitted letters of recommendation from 2 former employers in the field of home health care, and the letters attest to her dependability, responsibility, and work ethic. I am now prepared to proceed with questions unless the petitioner would like to make an opening statement.
Ma'am, would you like to make a statement?
No.
Okay, go ahead and ask your questions, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Ms. Vallejo, what is your current employment?
I work in family home health. I'm the office manager.
Okay. And as part of your petition packet, you submitted documentation saying that you have been certified as a universal technician by the ESCO Institute. What is that certification, and is it related to healthcare?
After my license was revoked, I have 2 kids. I was a single parent, and in the health field, what I was making before my license got revoked was very little compared to the LVN salary. So I went to school for HVAC, which is installing, repairing air conditioning. I completed the course, and it's good money, but that wasn't my passion. During that time, I was also working for Premier Home Health, which I was working as an LVN, but when my license got revoked, they still had me there for part-time as a QA. And after Home Health, they have surveys every 3 years. There was a survey conducted at Premier Home Health. During that time, they didn't pass. So everybody that was employed there left, and I was the only one remaining there. The owner asked me if I wanted to continue working there as full-time. They brought in a new RN, and she became a mentor since 2015. And that's when I was hired full-time at Premier Home Health, and I became office manager.
Okay.
So that's the reason I didn't continue working in HVAC. I'm sorry.
Okay. So the universal technician, is that related to HVAC, or is that related to healthcare?
That's not related to the health industry. I chose to take that path because when my license was revoked, I was working Premier Home Health, and since the documentations are public, everybody there started circulating what I have committed. The documentations were going around. They gave them to everybody that was employed. The staff members were giving them to each other, and the word went out that I wasn't a reliable person. So I just thought that I just wanted to move on and not pursue my career in medicine.
Have you completed the payment for the restitution from your conviction in 2011?
I haven't done so because what I earn now, it's very minimum. Sometimes I really don't have enough money for gas. I have to be commuting with people. It's been really hard on me.
Okay.
But if I do get my license, that's something I want to do as soon as possible, pay it.
Okay. In the letters of recommendation that you submitted as part of your packet, are your recommenders aware of your conviction?
Yes. One of them, Rafaelito Duran, he's the owner to Premier Home Health, where I was employed as an LVN and then as an office manager.
Okay. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Well, just before we move on, I don't think we're clear on what being certified in Universal Tech authorizes you to do. What is that
It's
certification?
air conditioning.
That is related to the air conditioning?
Yes, I went into the industry of air conditioning.
Okay, it wasn't clear. Okay, let's see if the board members have any questions. Pardon me. Okay, Cheryl Turner, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead.
All right. So were you actually involved in the billing?
No, I
of your
wasn't.
service?
I wasn't.
Okay, so they alleged that you were part of a group, a conspiracy that billed for those services as a LVN.
I was an accessory to a crime. They allowed them to bill for LVN instead of an HHA.
But it also alleges that you impersonated an LVN.
That's where it's
when you were
a home health aide.
When you were
A home health aide.
All right. So by that they meant you met with the patient and you told her or him that you were an LVN.
I was conducting LVN duties at that time.
Okay. You were conducting them.
Right.
Did you say to them you
no.
were LVN?
But I was doing suctioning, feeding the patients through the G-tube.
But you received payment at a higher hourly rate, at the LVN rate.
When I started working with this case, it was $12 an hour. When I told them I was furthering my education, going to Albion school, they gave me the raise
To the
to
LVN?
18.
To 18?
Mm-hmm.
So your profit was from the higher salary?
Yes.
All right. Did you receive any part of the amount that was billed to Medicare?
No. I didn't know what was going on till it was in the news and when the FBI approached me. I didn't know about the billing situation, that they were billing for RNs instead of HHA.
RNs or LVN?
It states here LVNs, but when when I was interviewed, they told me it was for RN.
All right, I have no further questions.
Alita Carpenter, any questions?
Yes, I'm still a little confused. Were you performing also the duties of an RN?
I think they said it was RN because we were doing I was just suctioning and feeding the patients through a G-tube. But I think because an RN would receive, if they were billed as RN, they would receive a higher pay, a reimbursement through Medi-Cal.
So they would be billing for an RN, but the duties that you were actually performing were those of an LVN. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You've answered my questions.
Ken Maxey, any questions?
So it appears that you really want this opportunity so you can get back and make some
Yes.
better money.
Not better money. I love being a nurse. That's the reason I'm still in that field, an office manager for a home health agency, because I still get to interact with patients I'm the intake coordinator, staffer. I call the patients to ask how our services are being provided. And I'm also the translator. I translate, so if we have Spanish-speaking patients, I go with the RN to translate. And I want to be a nurse. I just don't want to be translating. I just don't want to be behind the telephone. I want to be doing hands-on to educate the patients, do dressings.
Do you think you were a good LVN?
I was. What breaks my heart is that patients still call me and ask me, when are you going to come back and be my nurse? And I tell them, I can't go back being a nurse, but I could still be there for you. And I still visit them.
You submitted some documentation, and I think you submitted about 6 different locations that if you were resubmitted, that you would be able to be hired by?
Yes.
How do you know that? You've checked
Because
with them
those were my previous employers, and they have asked me, when you get your license back, because they tell me I am, which I hope I do soon, they tell me their doors are open for me because they love the way I perform my nursing care to these patients.
No further questions.
Tammy Andozo, any questions?
No questions at this time.
Bernice Bass DeMartinez, any questions?
You will. We're talking about how do you pronounce my name, but anyway, it's okay. You say nursing is your passion.
Yes.
And you would, even though you're licensed now with this special training with air conditioning, which seems to pay more money.
But it's not about the money, it's about what I love doing.
Okay.
Waking up every morning.
Come on, tell us about that. Take your time.
Sorry.
And then tell us.
It's about going to work and liking it. Not just because I'm getting paid, but just loving what I do. And I used to love educating our Hispanic community that Some of them
Of course, aquí
really
no
don't know
hablan
how to manage
español.
their disease. And there's a lot of nurses that don't take their time to explain to them the management. Because once you have a disease, it doesn't mean that you're going to have it. You could live with a disease. It doesn't mean you're going to die of it, because a lot of people do think they're going to die. So what they do is, diabetics, they just continue eating where they're not supposed to, because they keep saying, I'm going to die. But it's not like that. It could be manageable. It's just that a lot of our patients need to be educated. And that's what I love doing. I used to love doing wound care, because as soon as they were healed, that means that I did a good job. Most of the patients would tell me, I would tell them, oh my God, you're getting healed. They would be sad. I'm like, why are you getting sad? You should be happy, because I'm not going to see you anymore. But that was my joy. Not the money, but my joy was seeing them being healed, seeing them getting their blood sugars with a normal range. Because sometimes when I started, the patient's blood sugar would be 400. And then when my episode would end, it would be back to between 80 to 120. And that made a difference in their life. And that's where a lot of patients still communicate with me and call me and ask me, when are you going to come back? And I have to tell them, I can't come back as a nurse, but as a friend, I'm always going to be there for you.
I want you to help us walk through the incidents that occurred. You were initially licensed in 2007 as a vocational nurse. And you went to work in this particular setting, and a little earlier you told us you believed you received a raise.
I was working for this company since 2004. They would send us to different, as a home health aide, they would send us to different clients to provide care to them.
Okay.
In 2004, I started with, my pay was 11. And then when I started doing patients with feeding tubes, it went to 12. And then
when was that about? Can you remember about the year? Was that when you got your VN license?
2004. I started 2004, and the raise for 12 with the ventilator patients was 2000. My raise was 2006. And then when I started, 2005. Because prior to that, I wasn't working with ventilator patients at this particular home health.
So the agency you were working for trained you or taught you how to do that?
Trained me. We had in-services that trained us.
So you say us, so it was more than just you?
Oh, yes, there was 42 defendants in this case.
How, okay, 42. So they all were trained to do this?
Yes.
Without license?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you think about that? You said you thought you got a raise.
Oh, when I got the raise for, they knew, I had asked permission if I could go part-time because I was going back to school for LVN. So when I was doing when I told them I was doing my LVN, they told me, okay, we're going to give you a raise because now you're going to school. Now you're educating yourself. But I was naive. I should have asked more. I think it was my fault.
What should you have asked? Why do you say you were naive? Help us
Naive
understand
because
that.
I could have asked, why am I getting a raise for $5? And I don't know the billing. I wasn't aware of the billing. So I was naive because I was performing care. As an HHA, we don't have a scope of practice. As an LVN, we do. So now I've learned when I educated myself as an LVN that there's things that you could do and there's things you can't do. Like, for example, I can't do IVs because I'm not certified. So that's something I wouldn't do now.
But you're saying your employer at that time taught everyone to do
They had
some
respiratory
things.
therapists and they had the RNs teaching us. And we would go to the patient's home and we had orientation for a week.
So there were RNs that were there,
There was RNs.
but we don't know if they were bona fide or not. In other words, really licensed as such.
No, but the DON was a RN. They had RNs inside the facility. that were teaching us. I'm not sure if the people that we work with, because there was 3 children in the house, were licensed or not.
Okay.
But the ones giving us the, instructing us, teaching us were licensed, they were RN. Because there were surveyors that would go and they were presented as a DON.
So, supposing we decide to honor your request, what would you do differently now versus if you were to end up in a circumstance where all of a sudden you're getting raises or you're being taught to do? I mean, help us
That was a
understand who you are now.
That was a life lesson. I gave you documents because this is where I was working at for Pacific Rim. I was given a salary there. It was really good salary. But when I worked only for a year there. When I started noticing that there was things that it didn't go, before I accepted, when I became office manager to Premier Home Health, which was in 2015, I went to Department of Health and I asked them, where can I get a person that could mentor me to tell me what's right from wrong managing a home health? Because I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. They told me I didn't have to look for anyone. I would just have to read Title 22, Chapter 5, and Chapter 7. And it'll tell me the regulations to home health. And I did that. I read the regulations for home health, the state and federal laws as well, because I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. But unfortunately, Premier closed their doors in 2017. So that's when I started working with another person with Pacific Rim Home Health. During that time, I was the office manager and she was paying me salary. But then when she requested me to do things that were not right, like billing without patient's notes, without the nurse's notes and just the route sheets, I told her I couldn't do that because the regulation states that without a note, that means that visit was never made. And she told me, you're getting salary, is that the reason you're getting it? Because you're like, in other words, she wanted to bribe me, I guess, because I was doing pre-billing. And I told her, I'm not gonna do the same mistake twice, because if I don't see a note, I'm not gonna do it. And she told me, there's going to be consequences to what you're telling me because you're avoiding me receiving money. And I told her, yes, you want business, but my ethic's not business. My ethic is patient care. So I refused to do what she wanted me to do to bill. So that's when she gave me this memo. So it says right here on my name that I was going to do final claims. I wasn't going to be office manager anymore. So once that happened, she continued harassing me. You need to bill, you need to bill. If physical therapists don't turn in their notes, you still need to bill. And I told her, I'm not gonna do that anymore. That's when she gave me a second letter and there she said she was reducing our hours. And finally, she terminated me because she did ask me, are you sure you're not gonna do what I'm telling you to do? And I told her, I'm not gonna do the same mistake twice. Because I know the regulations now and I know the laws. And if I do what you tell me, even though I'm getting the money, and I knew I was going to lose my job, I didn't care because I just want to make things right now.
Thank you for sharing that. No more
You're welcome.
questions.
John Deerking, any
Yes,
questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms.
Good
Moyo.
afternoon.
I just want to be clear about the underlying conduct that led to the conviction. Part of the federal investigation revealed that you prepared certain documents, and your testimony is you left a list of the services you provided, and then your employer picked those up.
Yes.
Apparently, and I think you previously testified that these documents would be collected by your employer, and then they would be signed by an LVN, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know whose name was listed as the LVN?
It was my sister's name.
Okay, do you know?
She worked there too. We both work at the same facility.
Okay. Did somebody sign off on these documents?
No, it would be the vital signs, and the patient would have to do a narrative every day. There was a chart there that was left at the patient's home. We had to do the vital signs and narrative of what was performed on the patient, handwritten. And then it was transcribed into paper that was, it was typed, transcribed in the computer. And I guess that's what was given to render the payment.
Okay, so you listed the services that were performed. You left it there. Your employer picked up the documents. Your sister's name got on there as having provided the services. And you were not an LVN then, right?
No, I wasn't.
You were a home health aide?
Yes.
And you testified, what's your understanding as to the scope of practice for a home health aide relative to G-tubes?
I wasn't. The owner to the agency said as long as there was a supervised license, we were able to perform under their license.
At some point after that, did you come to understand that G-tube feedings are not part of the scope of practice for home health aides?
Yes.
When was that?
When the FBI interviewed me.
And what about trach tubes, suctioning?
Also when the FBI interviewed me.
As a home health aide, did you administer medications to any patient?
I would, as a home health aide, I was working in home health. Usually they didn't take medications. It was just reminding them, did you take your they would take medications, but we would not give it to them. We would just remind the patients. And it was just more like companionship.
Okay, so would you deny that you administered medications as a home health aide?
No, because I did when I was working with this case. I did administer medication.
Oh, so you did?
Yes.
I got it. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Paul Sellers, any questions?
Yeah, I do. I think it's kind of along the same lines as Mr. Durkins again. So you were licensed, this started before you were licensed as an LVN.
Yes.
And then in 2007, you were licensed.
I
So
became
at that point,
licensed.
you were aware of the scope.
Yes.
But all of this didn't go down until, what, at least 2010 or 11 when the FBI...
It was a long trial.
And you worked the entire time for the same healthcare service?
No. Once I knew what had happened, I didn't work with them anymore. It was Excel Home Health.
I was when the FBI came in, that's when you stopped working for them. So you worked for 3 years after you got licensed for them?
Yes.
Okay. So my concern, I don't doubt that you have the skills to be a nurse. I really don't. I get that impression. You did it. You passed your LVN. But the other side of this is ethics and a question of your integrity and your honesty. And whether, and I'm getting a little bit of a vibe of I was just an innocent victim in all of this. So I didn't know what was going on around me. I was naive. You said on page A9 of your statement, I'm sorry, I should have had it here, that I have realized that I allowed a crime to be committed.
But I take full responsibility now, and I know
Did you commit a crime?
I did commit a crime.
And were you aware? I guess what I'm getting at is there's 3 years here that, let me step back here. One of our responsibilities as nurses is if we see something happening, we have as mandated reporters, we have an obligation to say, I saw this. You're as guilty if you know a crime, if you know that this type of misrepresentation is taking place and you say nothing as doing it yourself. So I'm concerned about that 3 years that you must have known, even if you weren't doing the billing, that you had been working out of scope for this company.
This occurred in 2007, before I became licensed.
I understand.
I wasn't licensed when it became.
You continued to work after you were licensed.
Yes,
with
as
them.
a licensed home health.
So at that point, you must have known that the work you had been doing was out of your scope, and that
Yes,
something
and that's
was,
where I was convicted. But I know like you said that, how do you know that I won't do it again? When I found out that this person was, Pacific Rim Home Health were not doing something legal, I did report them to OIG, because I don't want to be
But you're on a
accessory.
mission, your sister, your sister was falsifying documents. You were aware that there was falsification taking place around you, and yet you continue to accept your paycheck and say nothing is what I'm getting. But yet you're telling me that I'm responsible for this. Well, which one is it? Were you aware this was happening, or were you just an innocent victim in this?
After 2007,
Right. You were licensed.
but I didn't work with this agency anymore. I was doing home health. It wasn't with the same agency.
It was no longer. Is that my mistake? Is it no longer the same
Yeah,
agency? After you were licensed, you went to a different agency?
Yes,
Oh,
I stopped working with them.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is my
Yes,
error.
I didn't
apologize.
continue. Once FBI approached me and told me what they were doing, I stopped. I didn't go back to work. I just didn't go back because I didn't want to be doing that. Like, no, I've been doing home health, but not with the same agency.
So once you were aware that this agency
Yes.
was...
I stopped working with them.
Tell me about your sister, though, having signed these. That happened.
She was
prior.
working as a QA.
I'm sure she's had her own repercussions from
Yes.
this, but didn't you must have known that was wrong while it was happening.
I didn't know, back in 2007, I didn't know how the inside worked, the billing, the management, the QA. She was doing the QA, so she was the one transcribing what we wrote into the computer, and she had to sign her name because she was the one doing the notes. But back in 2007, I was not aware how it functioned in home health, how the billing system worked, or how the management inside.
So you didn't know that your sister was falsely documenting under
I know she was doing the notes. She was a QA person inside the office, and she was doing the notes.
But you just thought that was part of the routine of entering the information
Yes,
into
that's
the
why I
system.
said I was naive. I didn't know. That's why now that happened, that's when I went to the Department of Health and asked them if there any way I could get someone to mentor me and tell me how it is, the inside operation of home health, not just being a nurse, but also the administrative part. Because I don't want the same thing to happen to me again.
So changing it slightly, so the $26,000 of restitution, that implies that you were overpaid? Is that why they?
That's because they paid, yes, overpaid, because instead of paying me as an HHA, I was getting paid as LVN, and that's how much the state lost.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna Norton, any questions?
Yes, some of it is going to follow along the same lines. But first, where did you get your LVN? What school did you go to?
American Career College,
Okay, and when did you go?
2006, 2007.
Okay, and so you testified that, so this is where it gets a little confusing. You were working for this company from 1999, correct?
Yes.
To 2007? Okay. You got a raise when you told them you were going to LVN school.
Yes.
You testified on that already. Okay. Then you got your LVN.
Yes.
How much longer after getting your LVN did you continue to work for this company?
I don't recall. Probably a year, 2 years after.
Okay, so for 2 years after getting your LVN, you continued to work for this company that you
Yes.
knew, because when you went to LVN school, they told you that you couldn't do G-tubes, and they told you that you couldn't do that stuff that you had done, correct?
Yes.
So you were aware of it. You knew that you had been doing it, and you continued to work for this company, and you continued to work for them until the FBI came to talk to you, correct?
Yes.
So it wasn't when you became aware, it was when the FBI made you aware.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. So talk to me about your sister. Your sister worked in quality assurance.
Yes.
But I think it was Mr. Deerking asked about the notes that got left at the patient's homes,
Yes.
and they were signed by an LVN.
Yes.
And then you said
I
that-
never saw the notes. It's not like I would go to the agency because it was at the patient's home. I wasn't going to agency. I saw the notes after when
But you knew
the trial was going on, and they showed me the notes.
So it was afterwards that you found out that your sister's name was there.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister also was not an LVN.
No, she was an LVN.
She was an LVN.
She was quality control. She was an LVN.
Sorry, there's a lot in this case, so.
It's okay.
You've given us a document, and I just need you to tell me what this is. I don't understand the
Oh,
relevance of it.
because after she terminated me, I went to the labor law and presented this to them, and that's when they said that I had a case. And I went and she went also. I want the case because they found some irregularities.
Okay, so you sued the person that terminated you, is that? Okay. And I believe in your packet, you said you wanted to go on to be an RN.
Yes.
Is it also is it in your packet? Because we read a lot of it. Is it your packet? Did you want to create your own home health agency?
Yes.
That was in your packet?
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons that you wanted to find out about how you could not get into trouble again?
Yes. Because I believe home health should be more about educating the patient of quality care and not a business. And unfortunately, that's what it has become, a business, and not caring much about the patient's care.
So you've said that you take full responsibility and that you're ashamed of your actions.
Yes.
So then you continued to work for 2 years for this company that you knew was fraudulently billing. You've admitted that you knew it. You admitted that you were performing duties that an LVN can't perform. You, by your own admission, know that when you went to LVN school and you realized that it was not something that you were supposed to be doing, but you continued to work for the company.
Yes. I wasn't aware of what they were doing till after the FBI interviewed me.
I'm less concerned about the fact that, I'm less concerned with the billing part. I'm aware that you possibly didn't know about the billing. I'm more concerned with the fact that you were impersonating an LVN in those years prior to getting an LVN. You knew you were impersonating an LVN. And so when you became an LVN, was this company still having home health aides do G-tubes and suctioning and things that they shouldn't be doing?
I don't know.
You don't know. You didn't feel an obligation to report this company for what they had
I
been
wasn't
doing?
aware that home health is different from working in the hospital setting, and according to the owner and the supervisor said it's different. You're allowed to suction, you're allowed to do G-tubes. It's home health. It's not like the hospital where you're not. In the hospital, I never did that when I worked in the hospital. In home health, they told me there was a different setting. Okay. Things were done differently, and I wasn't aware of the difference between I thought it was different. Home health, since it's at the patient's house, the parents are there. It was different. I didn't know the difference between the scope of practice of a hospital and the home health. Now I do.
Okay. Let's check one more thing. I have no further questions.
Ms. Miller, any further questions for the petitioner?
No, Your Honor, thank you, and no further remarks.
All right. Anything that you would like to say in closing before we finish?
No, that's why I did it. I'm so nervous, but I just did a letter here, and that's what I wanted to say during my closing statement. I gave it to everyone.
All right, that's included in Exhibit A?
Yes.
And that will be
I
considered?
just think that people could make mistakes, change, and learn from them.
All right.
Thank you.
With that, that will close out the hearing.
I'm sorry,
What? Excuse me?
just one follow-up question here.
Go ahead, Mr. Deerking.
The hospital,
petitioner
Hold on,
submitted,
wait for the question.
the petitioner submitted what appears to be a doctor's order for some lab tests. Did you mean to
That-
submit that to us?
Yes, I did, only because I didn't have my discharge papers when I went to a hospital, because when my previous employer told me that I had to do the billing, and then when I found out that she had some doctor's order that were just copies and the names of the patients were changed only, and I found out I got really sick, because I don't want to go through the same thing. I don't want to be blamed for something. I don't want to be an accessory to a crime. So I got sick, and I went to the hospital. And that just shows that I don't want to be doing, I don't want to be caught in the same situation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
I do have
One more question from Ms.
more.
Turner.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So this notice of claim and conference, I noticed that your claims are related to overtime, meal period, and unreimbursed business expenses. Did you ever assert a claim against them for retaliation?
Yes, I did.
Okay, but it's not included in here,
It's
is
not
it?
included there because I got sick after, and I just didn't want to bother seeing her, because when we went to court for this case, it was really bad. So sorry I didn't bring the paper, but I did file for retaliation, and there was a court date, but I just didn't want to continue because I just have to take care of myself and my children.
So you didn't pursue that?
I didn't.
And what was the outcome of this conference?
I won.
You won?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Norton.
Sorry. Kind of the same thing. So I may have misunderstood you, but I thought you said that when you worked for Pacific Rim Home Health that you were salaried.
Pardon me?
I thought you testified that when you worked for Pacific Rim Home Health that you were salaried. Is this where you were the office manager?
Yes, I was salaried there.
You were salaried?
Yes.
Okay. But in this claim, it says that you were an hourly employee.
Yes, because they told me that because when I was hired, I was hourly, but the owner said I was salaried, so they had to calculate how much it would be during if I was hourly. Because
So
I
were
work
you-
12 hours a day.
So were you hourly or were you salaried?
I was technically it was salary, but they told me that because they can't do salary when they can't calculate what is your meal time or what is your overtime if it's salary. It should be hourly.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
With that,
you.
we will conclude this hearing and go off the record. All right, well, thank you all very much. We'll do it for today. We will now go into closed session, so we need to clear out the room. To all the students here, don't take this personally, but we hope we never see you again.
You mean in this row?